Cocktail shaken. Cocktails on the fly. I'm your flighty hostess, Alberta Straub. Hello. On this flight, we're here to talk about bitters. Commercial cocktail bitters, the 4 main brands. Just remember, Flighty says, bitters make it better. These bitters are essential for every bar. I don't want to go over to anyone's house and not be able to find all of these, and I especially don't want to go out to a bar and not have these bitters. Bitters are essential for cocktails. They bind flavors together and they add a distinctive and unifying complexity to cocktails that is absolutely essential, and you cannot live without them. Whether or not you are resurrecting old classics or you're inventing your own cocktails, remember, bitters make it better. There are 4 main commercial brands. We have Angostura bitters, Peychaud bitters, Fee Brothers orange bitters, and Gary Regan's orange bitters number 6. Angostura bitters were actually created for Simón Bolívar's troops fighting for independence in South America. These bitters were meant to combat stomach maladies, but they ended up being an essential part of cocktails such as the old-fashioned, the Manhattan, or the champagne cocktail. The primary flavor of Angostura bitters is clove. You can smell it, you can taste it. Clove comes out. That's a lot of other bitter elements and herbally elements. Gentian is what provides the bitterness, but when you taste it, you can actually feel the numbing feel on your tongue that comes from the clove. So essential for Manhattans, essential for old fashions. Do not attempt to make a Manhattan without Angostura bitters. It's just not the same and it's not right. I don't care. Just do it, okay? The second bitters that we're going to be talking about are Peychaud bitters, created by New Orleans apothecary Antoine Peychaud, who's often credited by cocktail enthusiasts as being the father of the modern cocktail. He created the Sazerac, which was very popular back in the day. These bitters have a primarily anise flavor or licorice. They're essential for the Sazerac or for the horse's neck or a number of other cocktails. Anise goes really nice with scotch. You could try it with a Rob Roy, for example, and it's a nice flavor together. The last 2 bitters I'm going to talk about are orange bitters. They're both orange bitters, but they're vastly different. Fee Brothers orange bitters have been around for a long time. Old cocktail books that you go through, there are constant calls for orange bitters, and these bitters became very hard to find in the past 25 years, which made Gary, inspired Gary to create his own bitters. Now, these are vastly different in flavor. The Fee Brothers has a glycerin base. The glycerin base of the Fee Brothers gives it a very light and creamy texture and just a very light bitterness at the finish. So if you're mixing up a cocktail, say a lemon drop or an aviation or something like that, add these bitters to it. It just adds a nice brightness and a slight little hint of complexity to your cocktail without being overwhelming. Now, Gary Regan's bitters are totally different, like I was saying. He based his recipe on this great recipe in this book called The Gentleman's Companion and Guide to Exotic Cocktails. Now, this book is impossible to find. If you have it, you're very, very lucky indeed. I've only had the opportunity to look through it a few times, but I've seen the recipe in there. And this bitter has just got a bright citrusiness, but there's a lot of complex herbally flavors and spicy. There's cardamom, you can taste nutmeg in there and allspice, and then it's very bitter. And this is a great bitter to add to almost anything you're creating yourself at home, because if you have a cocktail that maybe it's tasting a little flat, add this bitters to it, and then all of a sudden you got a dynamic tasting drink. So anyways, bitters, 4 of them, very good. Flighty says, bitters make it better. Bitters. Essential for many cocktails. Used to provide an accent. Based on herbs and/or citrus. Stimulates the palate. Delicious. Cocktail shaken.